So I should stop talking about all the horrible things. I mean, oh, we're live.
We will be live. This is live recording. Thank you all to whoever stumbled upon my lowly channel. I am joined by some of the premier YouTube RWBY critics.
Premier does not mean popular. We're just really good at it.
Yeah, okay, infamous YouTubers.
One's infamous. One's just sort of that weird guy who likes to fix things. I'm like Bob the Builder, but
no. Raymond is the premier RWBY critic, and I am the Sony Vegas RWBY critic.
True. But anyway, I've solicited Bob the Builder to be on this humble channel for a nice little talk. But let me introduce them. On my videos far left, I have Celtic Phoenix Productions, aka Raymond McNeil.
Hello.
And in the middle circle, I have fatmanfalling, who I have the name of, but I'm not that kind of guy, so I won't reveal of.
Hey.
So thank you all again for coming. And so the talk I wanted to solicit is a talk on the story elements of RWBY, their pros and cons, and how they've been used in different stories and produce better results. So basically, a deconstruction and analysis of RWBY's storytelling elements.
So where do you want to start exactly? What element do you want to start with base?
Well, I think base would probably be the biggest problem, which I think is aura. Aura ruins it. In fact, this was supposed to be a good solicitation for a video I just uploaded, but because YouTube's awful, they took it down. So I have nothing to. I have nothing.
Copyright, or was it like?
It was copyright. Like it was like 34 seconds of the first volume 6 episode.
Trust me, you have to be very careful with that kind of stuff. The rule that we typically stick to, or I stick to, is you only use 6 seconds and 20 frames of footage, and then have at least 2 seconds, and I want to say 3 frames of footage cut. You need that much distance between cuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hindsight's a perfect, order, but anyway, going back to aura, I think again another reason why I solicited Celtic is because you, in your RWBY rewrite, you go into what your vision of aura would be as the perfect model, and you do it as damage reduction, almost like how some armor classes work in role-playing games, where certain armor classes reduce damage up to its durability breaking.
Well, to give a more thorough explanation, I play Pathfinder almost religiously every Friday, or every Saturday, I should say. That's actually why I'm kind of tired now. Last night was a pretty extensive session. We freed a demon and actually broke the river Styx. That was kind of crazy. But the idea I had was, it's not necessarily like armor class. That's you're probably pulling from 5e terminology, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's my D&D background.
5e players. 5e's fine. I think it's a little too simplified for my taste.
I played Starfinder once.
Yeah, that kind of fell through. I could not continue that.
It was fun though.
It was fun. I like it. It's a nice simplified version of Pathfinder. But damage reduction in Pathfinder is something that's alternative to just the armor class. It's something like on top of armor class. So even if you get hit, armor class determines whether or not you get hit. So that's basically like all the characters jumping around, dodging attacks, or having some kind of protective armor on them. But then damage reduction is when you do get hit, a certain amount of the actual damage the enemy does to you doesn't get through. And if they don't do enough, it doesn't get through at all. So it's sort of like, it is a protective field. And the thing that I was using mostly as a basis, people compare it to Nen from Hunter x Hunter. I've not watched Hunter x Hunter. I want to make that absolutely clear. So basically, I'm going completely off of a different mindset with it. But when it comes to aura, I always had this idea of, all right, so your body naturally produces this field. How just from a scientific standpoint, how would you measure it? How would you quantify it? How would you how would the average human try to understand it? And that's where I kind of leapt from is if you have a protective field that is produced by your body, how do you measure it? How do you understand it? How much does it protect you? How much could it protect you? What are its limitations? What are its can it be, overcharged? Can it be undercharged? Can it be turned on and off willingly? I started asking all those questions. And so I see your suggestions here. You have Hunter x Hunter, I believe, listed for Aura, or
Yeah, that was going to be one of the things that I bring up is because you mentioned Nen for Hunter x Hunter kind of works in the system. In Hunter x Hunter, the base of the energy is actually called aura. Nen is like martial arts terminology for it, like all martial arts are martial arts, but only one's jujitsu. That Nen is like the application of aura. But
okay.
But what I was bringing up that probably would have fixed how RWBY acts is if they made Aura its mana bar, where you can dedicate whatever you want to whatever task you do. Because some huntsmen don't seem to use Aura in any defensive manner, and they only use like their semblances, or they use their different specialties or skill sets. Where if you made it more the mana bar, you could choose what spells and which way you dedicate your Aura, and then different ways of training to maybe extend your upper limit or to get a better application of it.
I kind of like that. I mean, like the way I've always had it applied was it is sort of like this. It's just overall defensive, but you can expend it in order to do more things. So basically, at base, it's just automatically defensive, protecting you. But you can do more with it if you sacrifice some of it to power other things.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. So that's always how I seen. I'm trying to remember exactly how the way I kind of took it was DBZ power levels, but I think that was my underlying inspiration for it. But
shouldn't be your basis for anything.
Like, let me explain myself, because I understand that DBZ power levels are fucking broken, and I've had issues with that for years. Like ever since the fucking Cell arc, where everything stopped scaling properly. And even then, the Cell arc was just sort of... Cell arc was the best arc. I think everyone can agree with that. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, Cell arc was certainly like the longest one.
It has better set pieces than the previous ones, but I think narratively the Freeze arc might have better impact.
I agree with that.
That's fair.
I mean, like, Gohan going Super Saiyan 2 wasn't as special as Goku going Super Saiyan.
True.
Or the Krillin death,
yeah. Back on point is that, like, I always had issue with how that was handled, but I always kind of understood. There was a guy called Plague of Gripes that went through.
I think I saw his video on that.
Yeah, I watched through most of his video, and after a while, I was just kind of like, all right, I know most of this. But I don't know how I know most of this, because I just kind of, as a kid, understood how it worked, that you had, like, a field that protected you. Maybe it was that explanation that Gohan gives Videl during the
opening of the Buu arc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
when he's training her how to fly. Yeah, I really like that scene.
It's like the best scene in the series for me.
Yeah.
It stuck out as, holy crap, they're explaining how this works. I've always wanted to know how to fly, and of course, as a kid, I don't realize you can't do that. But damn it, if I believe hard enough.
Not yet. We'll get there one day. Science will find a way.
Yes.
But
it's from there that I kind of try to refine this idea of aura and protective shielding. But please continue with your point.
Well, with going to the power level system, the reason why the power level system ruins DBZ is because there's no ceiling, or there's no reasonable ceiling, and the only way that they add more antagonists is just to say this person has yours plus one power level. That creates a conflict where, arguably in Hunter x Hunter, time is the main determinant of how well you do with aura. Unless you're like a genius, like someone born with it, or someone who just instantly is a professional at doing it.
I don't know. Maybe they're Maybelline.
Yeah, maybe they're born with it. Maybe they're a superhero. But with that, it brings back to dedication. Like how much time you put into it, how much training you put into it. Do you know the right techniques? Do you dedicate your stats to the right way? Did you serve your talent? Because I guess this might be a good way to transition into semblances. in Hunter x Hunter, they have something called Hatsu, which is basically their version of semblances, where they use aura to make a unique power. And they categorize it by how it does. Like, Enhancer builds up the body, Emitter is basically, you know, beams, Transmuter, you can change the quality of it, like make it electricity or rubber in one case. Manipulator, you can manipulate actual items across from your body. Conjurer, you can make something literally out of thin air that's material. And Specialist, which is the catch-all for anything else, but it usually also subcategorizes into like how it affects Nen. Like, it changes the rules of how Nen works, like giving other people Nen powers. But that way, again, it's all backed up to the building block, but that way of Hatsu, it also specializes in what the person's characteristic are and how they should specialize, because once you're in one category, it's really hard to branch into a different category, especially with specialists, because you can't break into specialists. You either have it or something traumatic happens in your life and you break into it that way. So, like, going into like the categories of
literally break into it.
yeah, literally break into it. But the thing with semblances, like, you can kind of categorize their semblances with that Hatsu. Like, Yang would probably be an enhancer in that situation. She changes damage into more power. Weiss would be a specialist. She has to be a specialist for it to also be genetic. Sun could be an emitter because he matches a power that's in there almost to a point, and so would
You see, I think
like,
trying to equate it to straight up to other power systems is comparing them is fine.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it just to say who would be who and what. I'm saying that way it categorizes, because another part of my semblance block is, how do you train people whose semblances are completely unique? I mean, they're all at school for what seems to be standardized training. How do you standardize training someone with, like, Yang in the same class as someone like Weiss?
Well,
pretty much all power systems, like in anything. Like, if you have a power system, odds are it's probably bullshit. You can't really. I mean, I guess there's something stopping you, but it's not. It's all just made up, and you're telling a story first and foremost, right? That's just how it works. So you will leave it as vague as possible to, take the most dramatic license with the events that you're putting out. The thing that attached me to Aura personally when RWBY started was that it was supposedly a manifestation of your soul. So it's like, what does that mean? Like, that like one line in itself brings up so many questions about like where the world building went from like the beginning of time, right?
Yeah,
how did they have the soul and this force field, physical force field, as two things that then they conflated together?
Yeah, I think your volume 1 review said, like, didn't they have sharp object before they had philosophy? Like,
yeah.
But this is where I've had issue with you, Fat Man. It's you seem to take everyone literally at their word. And while you're right about the conflating between soul and aura, I don't think it's actually the case that soul and aura are actually equivalent, or if they are, lucky guess. I don't think people will actually piece that together directly.
Well, I mean, my question is, who else's word do we have to go on?
Not the writers.
No one's tried to explain it since, so we're just sort of like, all right, fine.
Well, I'm not talking about RWBY. I'm talking about storytelling in general.
Well, but then
how do you get information to the audience besides having a character?
Well, now we have Jin and all the craziness between Ozpin and Salem, so maybe we'll get a different answer, a more clear answer on that.
The disappointing thing about that episode. Like,
but I would say unnecessary. I think we can get to it later. But when it comes down to what it is now, and like between the soul and the such, for all we know, that's just one belief. That because Pyrrha seems to have sort of a reverence thing going on. She has this sort of very proper attitude about things. She refers to things in a certain way that it kind of makes me feel that, even though people don't practice religion much these days, she kind of feels like to me maybe she has something along those lines, or at least a spiritual belief in something. She kind of carries that aura with her. Heh, aura.
Yeah, boom chi.
So Pyrrha's just, speaking one specific doctrine, like.
Yeah, like basically, it's like how the Catholic Church says, this is the body of Christ and this is the blood of Christ.
Yeah.
For anyone that's an atheist or anyone that's questionable of Christian belief, that's just bread and wine.
For anyone who's trying to justify cannibalism in court.
No, guys, everything's above the board. His name is Jesus.
He gave it willingly.
You wouldn't arrest me for drinking wine.
But again, though, onto the storytelling point, another part of this talk is why it fails in RWBY. Like, going to Boku no Hero Academia, they have a system where everyone has a unique power, and they tailor the school curriculum to it. Like, the training arc in the summer camp is completely based on, okay, everyone who does this go here, everyone who does that go here, and we'll tailor curriculum based on how to best serve you. But again, they're lecturing when we ever see them in school, or doing random team fights in front of an audience.
You see, for me, when it comes to this, it seems very simple with how to handle unique powers in a school setting, where basically you just kind of have a set gym teacher that specializes in creative thought, effectively. The guy just being like, all right, you have this kind of power. Well, logically thinking, how do we improve it?
Yeah, practical exams.
Basically, you just have the gym teacher or the teacher and the specialist teacher that figure out how to train the kids on a one-to-one basis. You don't try to train them all as a big group. You do normal classes as a big group, obviously, because that's how you normally socialize and all that stuff. But when it comes down to just regular group stuff, regular hero stuff, that training the power, it has to be a one-to-one basis. My question has always been, how do you know what your special power is? Because, like, I had this thought, what if Deku in My Hero Academia, like, late in the series, it's revealed that he actually did have a quirk this whole time, aside from One for All, or All for One, whichever one it is.
Yeah,
One for All.
Like, what if this entire time he's had a quirk, but he had never understood how to use it?
Or it's one of those ones that have, like, too many conditions that you would never be able to fit in. Like, you only get your quirk when you die. Like, you get a rebirth quirk.
It's something like that.
Oh, God.
Like what? That would be some bullshit. That would be
Yeah. I do not think that's how the series is going, but
that would be an example of, the question isn't necessarily how do you train it, because the training it can come with just logical deduction and figuring things out through time. People will actually understand how to train their own quirk by the time they enter the school, I assume, because they'll have time to spend with it. My question is, how do you discover it? Like, there are some that are very obvious, like throwing firebolts or growing tendrils that form weird things. But how do you discover your gift and ability? That has always confounded me.
You get struck by lightning and not die, or you stub your toe and activate it.
Stub your toe, activate a nuke, just wipe out an entire city.
Well, wasn't that what the live action of RWBY said to the audience? How did you discover your semblance? Or am I wrong?
I don't know about live action RWBY.
Well, it was like with Barbara and Lindsay. They were doing voiceovers of.
Thing.
Okay.
I might be completely wrong, so.
No, I remember that.
But they, yeah, you're right. They don't have any like examiners or testers or any way to like go throughout the populace and figure out who would be the best huntsman. Because the video that got struck down was all about how Huntsman and Aura ruined the setting. Because if MF Jean can become a huntsman with no training, no specialization, and just have Pyrrha do the second and like fifth chakra around his head and sing a lullaby to him and unlock his huntsman power.
Snuck in.
Well, he snuck in, but why doesn't everyone get Aura unlocked? Like, this is a world where people die constantly, and the only cost to unlock Aura seems to be a bit of nausea from the unlocker.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, I mean, the the prevailing theory is that unlocking it that way is very intimate. Like, that's the prevailing fan theory. Is it's very intimate, and basically, in that moment, Pyrrha married John. Effectively, I know I've read more than one fanfic that has gone with that theory.
But
have you ever seen Excel World?
Yes.
I haven't, but
I've seen the first ones to know it's awful.
Yeah, so my experience with it is the Cleave and the Weave, and they were talking about direct communication, like plugging into whoever you're talking to, like via an Ethernet cable.
Yeah, but basically giving them your search history and giving them a Trojan horse into your head.
Yeah, and their problem with that is like, oh no, nobody does this because it's really intimate, even though it's like the most practical way to communicate, and it's just like, yeah, okay, this is not this ain't it, if you know what I mean.
But you understand my point with unlocking anyone's aura, that why doesn't everyone do it? Like, I have the point, why isn't the shopkeeper given an aura so he doesn't have to work a 9 to 5 to 9 to 5 to 9 to 5 all at the same time?
Well, I mean, I imagine a lot of people don't want the stress of being a huntsman.
But they're in a world where the stress of dying is constant. Like, why are all the people who are out in the outer villages who don't have regular huntsmen with them have at least a few people with aura to at least administer
Take
it?
into account that we've only seen like one village of those people.
One alive village. 2 if we count Ren's flashback. And then we also had Shion, which is destroyed.
Yeah, that was so dumb. We're the richest people in the universe. If only we could afford a huntsman.
No, I'm going to defend my own city, my rich city, with my rich hands, with this bow and arrow.
They were extorting us too much on the train. We didn't have a wisecracking uncle to give them shit.
Hiya! Sorry, wrong uncle.
One more thing.
One more thing. Man, I love that show. I need to go back and watch it. It's probably terrible, but I hope not. I hope not.
Yeah, I want to go back and find out that it's actually like fucking awesome.
For the longest time,
animation was
for the longest time as a kid, I thought that's actually how Jackie Chan lived. Like that was his day job when he's not making movies.
Yeah. You're not alone there. I used to believe Digimon were real. I still hope.
That must have been the harshest awakening.
Dude, 3rd grade sucked. 3rd grade sucked. I still have hope, though.
That's gotta be worse than finding out Santa Claus isn't real.
It was legitimately the worst because it was a slow, painful process.
Yeah, freshman year of high school sucks for that.
I didn't quite go that far.
I'm kidding, but yeah.
Where was I going with this? That's why, like, in my fixing, the way I fixed aura, so to speak, is to basically give it that power structure, is to try and give it that scaling structure, so that you can understand why certain people, while they have aura, it's typically not enough for them to really justify becoming hunters. It's enough to protect them in a few emergency situations, but overall, their auras are typically weak as tissue paper. Maybe they can withstand like 1 or 2 good heavy blows, but after that, they're just screwed.
Yeah, that was your soft, heavy, and fluid system for
no, the soft, heavy, and fluid system is
those are basically like the ones that would get you into a.
It's basically the soft, fluid, and hard systems were all about the type of damage reduction you get. So going back to Pathfinder terminology, hard would protect you from slashing and piercing weapons, but bludgeoning weapons would be way more effective at it. Meanwhile, you've got soft, which would protect you from. I think I want to say
it was hard, wasn't it? Defends you against hard because it's a cushion.
No, it defends you against
bludgeoning weapon,
and it defends you against. It somewhat protects you against. I want to say
slicing, but bad with piercing.
Slicing, but bad with piercing. And then you have fluid, which is great against piercing, okay against bludgeoning, but not so great against slashing. So the entire idea is that basically different weapon types now become more practical per character. You suddenly understand why certain people are not so afraid of bullets, or not so afraid of or are more cautious when they're around certain things.
You've added Pokemon to RWBY. Everybody's got rock paper scissors skills.
Well, it would also though explain why team composition is better for that. It gives an option that every single one of the members might have a better specialization against an opponent, but that they don't use it that way.
Going back to the storytelling side, why are they trained in teams when Huntsman is a solo job?
Well, we did see a duo. Like Volume 6 showed the only functional pair of professional huntsmen.
Yeah.
And one of them died immediately.
Let's just put an asterisk on, like, the first episode of Volume 6 was fucking awesome.
Because it did so many things right. I can't believe it. It actually exists.
Yeah, I saw it at the Fathom event. I was blown away. Like, this is RWBY. Like, I thought Genlock was eating all their budget.
Yeah, now I'm actually worried about Genlock. I don't know what's going to happen to that. Like I was trying to be like, oh man, I'm going to hate RWBY this season, but I'm going to go into Genlock really hopeful. But now RWBY's blowing me away, and I'm wondering where all the budget went for Genlock.
Yeah, I don't know. RWBY's not really blowing me away this volume. I mean, the first 2 episodes were pretty good. The 3rd episode was like really.
The
good.
4th is an intermediary. I don't count it. I'm not going to rank that.
The 4th episode doesn't count.
It's literally just characters need to get into place. Let's explain a few little things. Have a little exposition in them.
They underused Watts in that episode. That was my biggest gripe.
I guess.
Well, no, he did call out.
Salem. He called out, "How do you know?" That was his only line of it.
Which, that's a good line. That is a good line of, hey, wait a minute. You got to point that out to you got to have the audience know that we're aware of how weird it is she knows that. You see, that's how you convey information to the audience without them getting lost and making it seem diegetic, because the character is also confused.
Yeah, that reaction is better than just, dictation.
What you talking about, Salem?
Duh. So, okay, where we're going with this. Huntsman, you see, Fatman's always had the contention about Huntsmen being solo hunters, and I've never quite seen it straight that way. At least the fandom hasn't. Maybe I spend so much time in the fanfics, or at least I did. I don't usually do it anymore. That hunters huntsmen in the fanfictions and the most of the community are generally accepted to be sort of super versatile, where they can work solo, but they often work together in pairs, in groups. But then there was also one that was very interesting, one that was actually a fantastic White Rose one. It was going to be my favorite White Rose story until it got taken down. Then it got re-uploaded and then taken down again, each time before the final chapter dropped. It was the most painful fucking thing in the world for me and for Marcus, who we were both like heavily invested in this, and we finally just gave up.
Or a very progressive marketing tactic.
Yeah. But basically what it explained was that as you go further on into your years, because you're getting better and better, you don't need to rely on your team as much, and so it becomes much more individual focused. So the idea is that you start out with teams because you guys are all squishy and weak and unable to keep yourselves alive, so you need a team to protect you initially. But the more your team works together, the more you naturally improve, the more you can stand on your own, and then by your final year, the 4th year of Beacon, you're doing individual assignments. So I think the biggest problem with Huntsman is that we never get the structure of the school down, and this is one of my biggest gripes of the series. It never sets down how these schools work.
They don't. That's the problem.
How many years do you spend at Beacon?
4.
Can anyone answer me that? Have they actually told you 4?
No.
When?
Ozpin, episode 4. He says, "These will be your partners for
Is
the
it-
next 4 years."
I thought I said time at Beacon.
Also, Winter is 5 years older than Weiss, and she graduated already. So It'd have to be less than 5.
All right.
I mean, it makes sense given the American writers using an American system of high school, but
Yeah.
But it still raises the question of what is the composition of those years? Like, even when you're a freshman, you kind of understand what the seniors are doing, just a little bit.
See, my question is, are Coffee second-year students?
Yes.
Did they ever say that?
I believe they did.
Okay.
I believe it might have been a press release. It might not have been a in-universe thing.
Maybe. Because, like, I mean, my Volume 2 review operates under the assumption that they're fourth-year students, and it still doesn't make any fucking sense.
right.
Yeah. Team Coffee, pronounced Team Coffee, is a team of second-year students from Beacon Academy.
But again, maybe all that the Team RWBY has been doing is their Common Core stuff, like for credits. Then after the next few years, they would get more specialization elections.
Another thing that always ticked me off. Yeah, okay, this stuff is important. We can agree with that. But, like, characters are, like, Jean, are worried about their grades. Like, why are you worried about your grades? Like, this is, like, I mean, it's important to know this stuff, like, from a certain perspective, you know, the whole, you know, an ounce of knowledge is worth an ocean of power, or whatever.
But, phone in here, for Christ's sake, I don't know if he does that.
You know, like, are they really gonna, like, kick out an able-bodied soldier, essentially, because he, you know, doesn't test well?
Well, if he doesn't test well, it might show that later on he's incompetent. Again, these people are wielding superpowers.
I mean, like, you know, able-bodied and all, you know, because somebody who, like, doesn't, you know, somebody who didn't study history doesn't mean they can't go and crush a Grim skull.
Well, no, they're the ones that get the bad visors and Common Core weapons. Or standard issue weapons. They don't get to do the DUI weapons like Crescent Rose or
DUI weapons?
I think you
the car.
DIY.
I can only drive a truck.
I mean,
I can't believe I did that. Ah.
What's my semblance? Disabling the airbags.
I did have an idea for the character that his weapon was effectively just a car. But, like, it was basically a warthog from Halo, but way more versatile.
There's been no tanks. You know, armored vehicles would be great against Grim.
Well, there are the mechs. Those are technically armored vehicles.
And they're glass-jawed.
I saw the inside of one. There was nobody piloting it. Like, in Volume 2, it's like, Monty's like, I worked really hard to get that cockpit closing animation in the shot in time. And then in Volume 3, it's like, flash, all with wires and gears inside. It's like, yeah. Monty sure is a valuable member of this team.
Well, that's a good transition to the civilization/technology bullet point I have. The fact that they're so technologically advanced,
Well,
kind of.
Atlas is.
Well, Atlas is, but with the spread of technology, even in our world at its rate, it doesn't make too much sense for them to have the same problems as, like, you know, traditional, even medieval/modernity. Like, I make the big argument that faunist labor rights should be not a problem if they have AI robots. Just give them pickaxes instead of guns that can't hit.
They're more expensive.
Well, what's labor?
Have you ever played Borderlands 2?
Yeah, I played it.
Yeah, there's the Hyperion Bridge, right? And if you have the audio on, you'll hear Handsome Jack's announcements going, you know, all employees must throw themselves in front of hostile bullets to protect Hyperion machinery. You know, people are cheap. You know, robots are expensive. So I could imagine that even with robots, like, you know.
I mean, I don't deny there will probably be an overlap point where finally it's cheap enough just to have the robots doing the work.
Yeah, all that means is that we're not there yet.
Yeah.
But we're almost at that point now in our modernity. But they have functional AI that can fire onto hostile targets. That implies a much bigger.
Okay. You do realize that we have drones that can see into your house, like 3 miles away, and pinpoint snipe you. Why don't we use those instead of sending in 5 guys with machine guns.
Well, don't we?
Because it's cheaper to send in 5 guys with machine guns than to use the very expensive drone that has very expensive fuel and processing power in order to kill people.
I thought that was the whole point of the drone war.
Drone war?
The drone war in the middle, and then I don't want to touch politics. Never mind.
I yelled at a SWAT guy once.
You yelled at a SWAT guy once?
Yeah. They were okay. Somebody in my neighborhood was on his roof with a shotgun. So they called him.
All right. Stop right there. How come I have never heard this story before? I have known you for 5 years.
You didn't know me when it happened. It was like 10 years ago.
But this is something notable. Like the more I learn about you, you have like the most interesting life on the planet.
I never saw it that way. But yeah, there was somebody in my neighborhood, and he was on his roof. He had a shotgun, and they called him the SWAT team. And they were sitting there, and I'm like, shit, I can see him from here. I can hit him. Give me a gun. And then, like, you know, I was like, whatever. And like, in the middle of the night, I just heard like 40 shots fire. And then I'm like, oh, they finally got him. And then later on, I heard that he got hit once, and he turned himself in because
he got hit once.
He got, yeah. In the middle of the night, you hear like, and I'm like, oh, okay, so they got him. And I went back to sleep. And then I found out that he got hit once in all that gunfire.
I mean, was it average soldier spends, I think, 5,000 rounds of ammunition per target hit?
Oh my god.
Yeah,
let me look it up. Let's see.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, you know, like, I can see him from my room. Give me a gun. Give me a rock.
Let's see.
Also, I don't have too much to talk about at this point, but Reddit seems to be like a Second Amendment absolutist wet dream. Like, everyone is loaded. Like,
why do you think I love it? Like, this is my setting.
I mean, the children take guns to school. Like, how do you get
Hell yeah, baby! Hell yeah! I had a friend that posted, it's like, we need less guns in school. We need more corgis, because apparently there's this teacher that brings this corgi to school. And I'm like, all right, but what if we arm the corgis?
they take over within a year.
Because they're too cute to stop. Right? Makes sense.
It's like arming the Girl Scouts. I mean, we just surrender at that point.
Yeah. I always tried to make the point that if everyone was armed, mandatory, everyone was armed. Like, if you leave your house, you are legally obligated to be carrying a gun.
You must have at least a 22 or less.
Yeah, there would be so many less shootings because everybody would be like, yeah, I could, but it's not going to last very long.
Yeah, I was going to say...
You'd still get the crazy people or the people who have, you know, like a death wish who would be willing to... But it's like, so, like, a bunch of, like, rational people who are like, I just want to make people suffer. I realize I just called those people rational. And it's no, you don't have
I can leave it out.
Like, all of the people who, like, are going out with, like, specific, you know, motivation, who, like, plan to get away with it, they'd stop. If everyone was armed?
Yeah, well, that's the phrase I love, is an armed populace is a polite populace.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
Well, it's a philosophy on crime prevention. Harsher penalties don't actually affect crime statistics. It's application of prosecution that does. If more people are arrested and more people are convicted, then that lowers crime statistics because people think that they'll get caught.
My teacher, one of my teachers, was trying to make an argument like against anarchy. You would hate it.
I would have had a fun time with that.
Yeah, but he was saying, what does an anarchy government, an anarchy civilization, what does
that an oxymoron?
Yes, but he was making a point, so he understood that he was making an oxymoron. But he was saying, you know, like, what would an anarchy civilization need in order to be functional? And I was like, time? And he was like, no, you would need, you know, religious morality to permeate and I'm like, no. I mean, somebody's a dick and they get shot. Well, then eventually all the dicks are going to get shot.
We'll euthanize dickness out of the population.
Yeah, it's like, you know, the culture's just going to be inoculated to assholes.
This video is getting demonetized.
I can't get monetized in mine, so it's fine.
I mean, you don't have 1,000 subscribers yet, so you're cool.
Yeah.
You can always just, replace all of my advertiser-friendly language with, you know, Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble's friend from the Game Grumps. That's my favorite way to censor things.
Okay. Well, again, Fatman, you're just on point with all these transitions. Another bullet point that I have with technology was civilization.
Bullet point.
Thank you for that. But traditionally, and this was best illustrated to me in Seven Samurai, the sci-fi anime, civilization grows from farming community, and you can kind of sub-go that by hunter community, but then civilization kind of starts at farmer, then it goes to warrior, like the samurai in that situation, and then it goes to the feudal system where all the warriors group together and they control the farms and the output of it and compete between.
I mean, it's all about food, really. Like,
yeah.
Food. Like people they either walk to the food or they hole up in one place and grow their own food.
Yeah.
And then that's when but if they grow their own food, guess what? They have more food, and then then more people will come to get that food, but then they need to figure out, you know, civilization after that.
And then post feudal society is merchant society or commerce society, where it breaks.
And then you get the most evil civilization of all, ancient Egypt.
I mean, I like, you've seen the Bill Wirtz video, right? The entire world or whatever.
Well, then there's like, it's specifically the history of Japan was very interesting. Where like they grow rice, and if you have rice, you have food, and you have food, you have power. And suddenly,
how about Sunrise Land?
How about Sunshine Land? Then there was the sun is a deadly laser. Bill Wirtz is just fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, the point I was trying to make is Remnant really couldn't build in that traditional system. Like, even now we know the genealogy or the genesis of this world. They're constantly being attacked and decimated by Grimm. How would they develop further from farming into further kingdoms?
Yeah, like, they couldn't really do, like, because, you know, according to Miles and Carey, right, they had to set up camp in harsh environments so the Grimm couldn't get to them. So, you know, you can't just set up a town in a river valley. That's like open on all sides. Like, so they would be stuck in that, like, foraging for food, hunting and gathering for way longer. And then, you know, then eventually the point about Grimm being attracted to negativity would come in, but, like, apparently that's a lie because, like, Salem's in charge of the Grimm.
Right.
Like, wait, what even was that negativity thing?
But yeah, everyone's in cities in modern day Remnants. Like, they centralize so much, but they don't see how they feed that kind of populace. Like, they're all centralized into 4 main points throughout the world.
The Shandification of Fallout. All the YouTube videos have been made. We're just repeating them.
Exactly.
And Shandification of Fallout.
I mean, and they're 4 competing kingdoms, even though they share a currency, language, and political structure.
Yeah, that. Oh yeah, they do share a currency. Lien.
Yeah, they all have Lien. And
they all use the same money. They all speak the same language, and they all
has always been so janky to me. In just like the minute they said the 4 kingdoms, and I'm like, 4.
They're oligarchies at best.
They've confirmed this planet. They've confirmed this planet is the size of Earth. It because of the time it has and all that sort of. Although that's called into question because you can see the full moon in broad daylight.
Right.
But on the note of, you have 4 kingdoms across the entire globe. I don't think they realize how ridiculous that is.
Right.
Unless, I mean, you know, humanity then is incredible. And then also they discount Menagerie for some reason. When it has its own civilization and chiefdom.
Well, it's not a kingdom.
Yeah, it's a tyranny.
Civilization,
but it's not a kingdom.
Well, that could have been a good storytelling. Like, there's only 4 recognized kingdoms, and everyone else is like village, like nomads, bandits, the menagerie, dirty faunus. Like that could have been a good like political argument. Like there's only 4 civilized quotation mark kingdoms. Everyone else is on their own. It's like the EU versus anyone in Europe that doesn't follow their guidelines, especially if all the kingdoms were really restructured after a great war.
Yeah, like well, that's what I did work very hard to try and make the. I mean, again, fixing RWBY has been me just fucking taking that point and hammering it till it actually makes some semblance of sense. semblance.
You did that on purpose. That didn't feel natural.
Yeah, no. Well, I think I didn't do it on purpose, but the came off too weird. Anyway, so just trying to make the fucking politics make sense, and then like having the fallout of the Great War be more impactful, have it actually like that, having the underlying belly of resentment, because you don't just suddenly have peace after a war.
I mean, the fact that there were 4 kingdoms even before the Great War was a little fishy.
Yeah, that's why, like, Raymond, your annexation of that weird sounding name that
Saradakis.
Saradakis, thank you. That
Fun fact: that's actually the name of an exchange student from Germany that I hosted.
Okay.
He's Greek, so it's like it's pretty awesome. It's one
yeah,
of
but it explains why one kingdom encompasses both Asia and Greek, and also deep south.
Like it's a mix of things.
Maybe she's like a from a different kingdom.
She's from a different time.
Yeah, maybe this is like the code of Westworld falling apart.
Oh, it's all Westworld. We're all petty.
No, but so that is, but the thing is, like, Miles and Carey forgot the first rule of humanity is if you bunch up a bunch of people by force, there's going to be some resentment between them. That happens. So, like, when Mistral and Atlas lost the Great War, why aren't Mistral and Atlas kind of pissy about it?
Can I just, I don't know, this is not exactly related, but I need to say, in the world of Remnant for the fucking Great War, they make the specific point that Mistral got fucked by Atlas. Their Atlas was like, or not Atlas, Mantle. Mantle was like, no more art, and Mistral was like, but we like art, and Mantle was like, but we have dust, and you need dust, so you guys have no art. But then, what's it called? Haven? What's that one called?
Mistral.
Mistral. Yeah, but when Mistral attacked Vale, the narration of the world of Remnant says, the people of Mistral wanted to fight for their way of. It wasn't their way of life, though. It was the Atlas way of life, the Mantle way of life.
Also, in that same video, they say that Mistral's hypocritical, that they only enforce the anti-art in the outskirts, but their cities were kind of maintained the same.
Which doesn't make sense, because in the specific world of Remnant about Mistral, they say that they only enforce rules in the main city, and that they don't enforce rules in the outskirts. This is why you can't fucking trust RWBY.
Exactly. And again, even modern day, Germany was completely restructured after World War II. We still have German jokes, and all bad guys are kind of German-esque.
How come we haven't heard that? How come we haven't heard any jokes specific about kingdom goers?
Oh, again, nationality is one of the easiest ways for diegetic and honest racism. We don't do that in Remnant.
It's not racism. It's nationalism.
Nationalism. You're right. Thank you.
Yeah, because everybody seems like I don't know. They
no one makes jokes about faunus either. Like, what the hell? Like, if it's a racist society, how does someone crack a joke about a dog faunus eating a bone or something? I don't know.
Yeah, see, I remember when you were working on. I think you were working on the lore video, like way back in the day, and you were asking me like, what would a racist person call a human who liked Faunus? Like, you were trying to think of insults and stuff, and I'm like, that's a really good question.
And then you said it on Critter, which is great.
Yeah, critters and jockeys. I'm like, yeah, see, that's the kind of stuff that RWBY needs. Real like
Faunus jockey. I like it just rolls off the tongue, and it's a great insult.
Right. And then, okay, moving to Faunus, because that's again, you guys are on point. Are you reading the script?
Well, I mean, yeah. Not really. Your script is all over the place. I'm just looking at this.
It's bullet by names, but yeah, it's Faunus and racism. One counter story that I wanted to bring up is in One Piece they have a race of people called fishmen. They're literally just mermaids and people who are like half fish, half man, with all anatomically, but with shark face and gills.
When he was a child, a young boy broke his arm, and then he was exposed to X-rays. It was then discovered that he was part man, part skeleton. Skeleton man, skeleton man, skeleton man.
He now goes as Skeletor.
Made out of bone, shaped like a man. Skeleton feet, skeleton head.
Skeleton
God,
man.
copy him strength at his command.
Skeleton man.
I love that.
It's in production now. But the Fishman allegory was there are these people who they have a completely different set of system and culture, and they're looked down upon by the human society because they think that they are just a different kind of like magical beast, like a different kind of creature. But when they have civilization, kingdoms, and everything, and the particular arc, they have two allegories for Malcolm X and Martin Luther King as we understand race relations. One is the Queen Orihime, and she wants to integrate fishmen with humanity, to bury the hatchet because someone has to do it, or else it will never get better. But then the more Malcolm X character, I think it's like Fisher Tiger or Tiger something, he goes more, we will make the humans understand that we cannot be pushed around anymore. And you know, he becomes his own pirate leader, and he makes the world government shake because all the fishermen are like 10 times stronger than even the strongest human. It's One Piece logic of racism is kind of all over the place, but they're a force to be reckoned with. But neither of these positions are presented as completely wrong, especially since Tiger is an ex-slave. Like, he knows the cruelties of humanity, and he's like, I wish I could be more like the Queen, but I can't bury my hatred even for children of the race. Like, it's beyond me.
I slaughter them. Even the children. Even the young.
Not just the men, and the women, and the children too. I want a burger with everything, not just the condiments, but the condo women and the condo children too.
But with RWBY and the Faunus, like, there's supposed to be like a war that happened, like a race war, a literal race war happened, and there's no implication of all resentment.
All happened in that time between Ozpin, Ozma dying, and then Ozma returning, and what's his name?
He didn't give a name. The second generation of Oz didn't get a name.
Yeah, the second generation didn't get a name. None of them have a name. Or three of them. Only three of them. Ozma,
Ozpin, and Oscar.
And then there's the King of Vale and the Wizard, the only two.
Is that, like, I was going to ask that, is that just the only reoccurring thing between Ozpin's hosts, is that all their names start with Oz?
Yeah,
well,
that's
Ozpin and Ozma are OZs, and Oscar is
but it's a general sound of Oz, or Oz.
I mean, I assume they don't all have the same eye color either. That would be the biggest connecting thread. Like, literally, that's the only qualification to become one of his hosts, is you have an OS or an OZ.
And there's no
weird circumstance in OC.
And there's no OZ during Oscar's generation, so the reincarnation genie just kind of brushed it aside. It's like, it's close enough.
Yeah, they fucked that up with the whole naming convention thing.
Yeah, but back to Faunus, all resentment that Faunus have towards humans is completely depicted as counterproductive. It's they try to paint it as positive, like humans belittle us, but any repercussions or any animosity is always depicted as negative.
I guess.
It's just the thing is, I always like coming back to is trying to imagine yourself in this world. and where you see yourself, and like this is what a writer should do, is you should always try to imagine yourself in this world. Maybe not as a main character, but just in the world in general. What would you be doing and how would you behave? I mean, the most common example is, of course, thinking to yourself back in World War II Germany. Would you be one person that would capitulate with the government? Would you resist the government? Would you be one of the people being taken away? Would you be one of the people who were taken off for war? People always want to believe. They always want to believe they're going to be the person resisting the tyrannical government. They always want to believe they're the most righteous person in the room, that they're going to basically break any wrong. But that's not how it always pans out, and it takes really the more bold and creative people to really admit, hey, I might have been, back then, I might have been a Nazi.
Yeah, if more people were virtuous, a lot more Anne Franks would have been hiding out in attics.
Yeah. And so when you get down to it, you have to ask yourself in this setting, if there's really racism against Faunus, would you be racist against them? Because like I was just thinking with this Fishman example, I don't know where I'd fall on. If there's a genuine argument being made about them being magical beasts, that's an interesting way to look at it. Like how do you respond to that if that's a legitimate possibility?
Right. And
yeah, I always, I made a video about racism in Two Kinds Slightly Damned and RWBY.
Right.
And despite what the comments would have you believe, I actually came to the conclusion that RWBY was far more interesting of a way to handle this, because the good guys are the ones who are racist. It's like the huntsmen are the one who are like, I don't really care.
Yeah, bunny girls being harassed. It's Monday.
Yeah, it's like, what? Cardin's bullying you, Jean. We have to break his legs. And then over there, Velvet's yelling, ow, this hurts. Please stop. And they're like, yeah, sucks to be her, though.
You see, here's the problem that I think a lot of people make with moral grandstanding, and a reason why a lot of people now are basically flipping political sides, is that a lot of media don't understand the power of the protagonist-antagonist dynamic. When it comes down to it, having a charismatic villain is incredibly important to a piece. It impacts a piece on a fundamental level. A protagonist is usually reactionary, an antagonist is actionary. It's always an antagonist pushes the story forward typically. Yes. When you have someone with a clear motivation, a charismatic way of going about that motivation, even if they're committing horrible atrocities, you can still come to endear yourself to them. Perfect example I always love coming back to, Heath Ledger's Joker. Very much super charismatic. He makes a lot of interesting arguments when it comes to the nature of humanity, when it comes to order and chaos. He's literally like
pencils disappear.
Makes a lot of pencils disappear. He's an abhorrent human being, but he's entertaining to watch and very much endears himself to the audience. The big way that I think the Nolan films succeed is that Batman, while not quite as interesting as the Joker, is just as conflicted. Like you can tell that he's going through this very strong character arc, and in fact, on certain times, skews into the realm of villainy. He's beating people to shit.
Yeah,
he's worse than the NSA too.
Yeah, he's worse than the NSA. They make it very pointedly that he's breaking some rules of his own in order to stop the big bad.
Also, the big point about the Joker, his theory would have been right if not for the worst person on the civilian ship being gutless and the best person on the criminal ship being so endearing that he took away the choice from everyone else. It took the actions of two people to ruin the Joker's thesis.
Yeah. So with that and then he was going to blow him up anyway because the Joker's the Joker, and
right.
The point of the matter is, a lot of media, I think, by boiling down, giving us boilerplate villains for so many years, or giving us really endearing villains but boring protagonists without any flaw. I think that's that's where I was going with this. A lot of protagonists are kind of ultimately boring We got a lot of villains that are very interesting. And without that dichotomy being balanced, we end up siding more with the villains very often than we do with the protagonists.
Sure.
And I think that basically when they try to villainize something like, say, capitalism, they've tried to villainize capitalism for years, ends up making us more endeared to capitalism because the villain is more interesting than the protagonist. And that's why I think RWBY has a unique situation where if the protagonists have the fatal flaw of being racist, that makes them way more interesting because they have to logically justify their racism in light of them doing heroic deeds for heroic reasons. Like, that dichotomy is far more interesting to explore because it in some way makes the protagonists antagonists, and you need like analyzing that just is far more interesting and far more insightful to the human condition.
Yeah, like the interaction between protagonist and antagonist should incite change in the protagonist, or at least the antagonist if it's a redemption story. So interplay between the two thoughts should work, and there should be development of it in a proper story.
Has anybody seen the She-Ra cartoon, the new one from Netflix?
No, apparently it's bombing hard.
It is?
Well, not like the critics are giving it good reviews, but the fans apparently are freaking outraged at it.
What else is new?
Fans are stupid. Why? It's way better than, like, I don't know, Dragon Prince. There's just the last two shows I watched. I don't know why I'm comparing them. They don't deserve the comparison. But yeah, like, it has that kind of dichotomy where the good guy is actually the bad guy. You know,
Interesting.
The character, the main character who becomes She-Ra, is part of the evil horde, and she takes her evil horde mentality over to the good guys, and she just changes sides because she got the magical thing that made her invincible. She got the magical powers, but she still has this evil horde mentality. And she's the one who mobilizes all of these, like, pussy fucks that don't want to fight. Like, oh, no, we're good guys, we're pacifists. And they're like, and she's just, yeah, that's great, but that's why you're losing. And then she basically convinces all of, You're
pacifist now, but you're not going to be pacifist for long, either because you're going to get your ass off and fight, or you're going to be dead.
Yeah, all the bad, or all the good guys, all of the quote unquote good guys are the ones who are like, oh no, just run away. Let the horde take the village. We need to protect our people. And then when She-Ra shows up, she's like, no, that's not how this works at all. You got to fight them. Yeah, you'll take casualties, but you can't just let them walk into your town and take it over.
So
we gotta go fight them. Do guerrilla warfare. Take out their shit.
So She-Ra is Poe Dameron from The Last Jedi?
No. Not really. Yeah. Poe Dameron was like the reckless one, right?
Well, he wanted to do action where Leia just wanted to run.
Yeah. Poe Dameron in The Last Jedi was the only character talking fucking sense.
Yeah.
And no one listened to him. In fact, he got knocked out for his trouble.
Yeah.
No one was offering a plan of action, and he was just like, we have he's like constantly like, okay, we can do this, we can do that, we can do this. I feel so bad for what's his face, the guy who plays him. It's like, yeah, because like his character just got shit on in that movie.
Yeah,
but everybody got. Yeah, I mean, you feel bad for him because his character got shit on. All of the other actors got like death threats. Yeah. I mean, I would feel bad for the actress who played Rose. Like, it's not her fault that her.
Oh yeah, I feel bad for her. I feel awful.
Yeah. I feel bad for Daisy Ridley. Like, what was she gonna do? Say no? Say no to Disney?
Right.
Yeah, but like, I mean, I guess kind of, but it makes this really interesting point about, like, it's bad guy mentality, really. That's like. This isn't like an inherently bad thing to be proactive, even if that means you're taking aggression. Like, you got to stand up for yourself, or else, if you're completely passive, you're going to lose all the time. You can't just keep running away and running away. staying on the defensive.
Yeah.
And it's cool.
Well, I guess that's Ozpin's motivation. He's just running from Salem and keeping the.
Yeah, I was totally wrong about Salem's survival of the fittest. Tear down the walls and only let the strong survive. Completely wrong about that.
Who saw the apocalypse coming? Like that was not foreshadowed in any way.
Which apocalypse?
The relic apocalypse was all them get together.
Yeah, I can kind of understand why Salem wants them now. She's like, I will only die if everyone else dies.
But that didn't help her last time.
Or she gets around too. Yeah, that's her only two options.
Basically, the gods said, we'll come back and we're going to destroy the planet. Like, they have effectively said that, I think.
Have you read Yahtzee's first book?
No, I haven't. Why?
Mogworld? I think that was his first one. He wrote Mogworld before Jam, right? Anyway.
I don't know.
He has the character that's like that was like the undead mage, and he was like invincible in the code of the game. So he needed the gods to delete him, and he got like atomized by this like magic explosion, and then he was just like vapor in the ethers, and he's like, "Fuck, delete me! I'm still here. I'm just not deleted yet."
I must scream, but I have no mouth.
Page of that book that was just the words "delete me" over and over again in all caps. I listened to it on audiobook, so I don't know how long it was, but I think it was like a whole page for how long.
How do you listen to that in caps?
Oh, I mean, Yahtzee was just yelling. Just delete me, delete me, delete me.
Oh, but so the idea of Salem basically wanting to summon the gods just to fuck everything over and finally die, kind of like that. I mean, like I've talked about that, and the idea of Ozpin just squirreling that shit away so it never comes to pass, also kind of cool to me.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of offended when Ozpin tells what's the plan. The plan is defense. That's a very valid strategy if you can't seek victory.
Have you seen episode 4 yet?
I've seen episode 4.
His plan was, I don't have one.
I know that's what he says, but I said that should have been his answer. He should have said, we're marking time. We might not be able to win, but every day that humanity survives is a success.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that, like, just because he says he doesn't have a plan doesn't mean he's not still doing shit. Like just on reflex. Like,
My question is, why did it take so long?
That is a good question.
Thousands of years of, like, inaction, and then as soon as the camera crew shows up, it's like, oh, I guess we should start doing stuff now.
Yeah, Salem has been active the entire time. She doesn't have the buffering time between Ozpin's respawns. Why doesn't she only have 4 lieutenants and 2 disciples? Why does she have like a cult? Multiple cults, because she led a cult in Ozpin 2.0.
She has experience. Yeah, I don't know.
But why is she losing? Why is she the underdog in this situation?
And why does she know where the other relics are? I don't know. It doesn't, I don't know.
How did we naturally transferred onto the gods?
Okay,
They left. They left.
No, I mean topic-wise, we naturally transferred onto the gods.
Oh, we did? I guess.
I didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
Fuck, we are good at this, Fatman.
Well,
speaking of, okay, wait, let me just kind of stay on this vein, but like go back to the fondness. The fuck did they come from?
Okay,
so Ozpin dies, or Ozma dies, and then he comes back, and then he dies again, and then Salem becomes immortal, and then everyone gets wiped out, and then when he comes back, there's just faunus now. Like, they didn't evolve the first time. Did they evolve? Were they created?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, according to the lore in episode, or in volume 4. They were created. Was that a lie? Did they just evolve naturally twice?
Did you see the comic that Mediocrity posted?
I don't know.
It was where did the shit? I gotta find it.
Is it in Answer Corner or is it in RWBY?
I don't know where it was.
Well, my thing is, the faunus aren't created by God. Like that's really, really dark. They're undivine. They don't have any like valid place on the world. They're just deviation.
Where is? Maybe it's in Furry Trash. I think it's in Furry Trash.
God, your guys' Discord is amazing.
It really is.
Yeah. Now that I have everything nice and categorized, it's not in furry trash, or is it? Fuck, that is.
I'll search for mediocrity on your Discord.
Fuck, I don't know how to spell his name in because he has like a 0 in it somewhere.
But yeah, they just show up. Like, and that's also a problem with Oz 2.0's life. Everything's okay again. Like, where did he jump in? Like, there was an apocalypse. Did they wait a million years for humans to re-evolve?
How long was that? Like, when in the process of evolution, like, I mean, Salem could have done whatever the fuck she wanted in that entire time.
She builds a nice shack and settles down. Subsides her life to being a widow.
For millions of years?
Yeah. She's learned patience, I guess. That's Salem's greatest virtue. She's very patient.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know.
From at mediocrity.
Okay. While he's looking up
mediocrity, I'm trying to find. Let's see. Where are the other tags? Let's see. Here we go. Found it. It is in Cancer Corner. There it is. I'll just copy and paste.
Put it on the video. Unless it's really not safe for work.
No, it's not safe for work. It's clean.
Like, this better be relevant. It's just completely different.
This is the theory of how Faunus came to be.
Oh God. So shouldn't Faunus have magic powers? No.
But they should have magic powers. Oh Lord.
The true origins of the maidens.
Oh fuck.
Literally. Oh Lord. Yeah, so no, the way I would say that Faunus evolved just because, like, animals didn't get wiped out. Just humanity. So animals had more time to evolve, whereas humanity basically evolved at the same rate. So I guess Faunus spread out.
But they're one for one of animals. Like, they have cat Faunus, they are bat Faunus. Like, it's not like a crapshoot. You get random deviations in, like, extra arms or limbs or spider powers. Like, they're
They all just kind of trended towards humanity.
Well,
guided evolution. It's a theory. Guided evolution.
I understand that religious doctrine, but the idea that every Faunus is perfectly one animal, even if they don't come from that kind of human or Faunus typing.
They're like humanity plus one thing.
Yeah, but like cat Faunus plus dog Faunus equals lizard Faunus, not like cat dog Faunus.
I don't give a shit. That's the one. That's like you can go all day and all night trying to justify all the bullshit in RWBY, and it's like, why would you choose that one? Like, why I would personally take that and just as the writers saying YOLO and then dabbing 40 times. That's that point in a nutshell. If a dog fucks a cat, you get a bird. Okay, I understand. I don't understand why, but I understand you guys.
Okay, you know what? I've already officially discounted almost every single World of Remnant. Why are we taking that as rote? We shouldn't.
Right.
Well, like, see, my problem was always that the characters in universe have the potential to be unreliable narrators. Like, I mean, I always considered that Ozpin was telling lies, even back in Volume 1. So you couldn't really trust him. but World of Remnant is divorced from the narrative. So I never took for granted that characters could be lying in supplemental, non-canon material. Like,
the dictionary lies to us about the definitions, basically.
yeah.
But back to the fondness. I kind of mentioned this in, I think it was your Volume 2 reaction, or rewrite, Raymond. I mentioned why fondness really don't have a culture. I mean, there's no, like, hierarchy of purebreds. There's no why the cat fondness on the east side hate the dog fondness on the west side. Like, there's no, like, animal or social groupings between fondness. They're all just like, yeah, we're all oppressed. Let's be oppressed together.
Just be oppressed together. Oh, well, I mean, you could say the same thing about humans, right?
Yeah.
Building is RWBY's weakest suit. They don't do it. It's not even like they do it poorly. They just choose not to.
Well, no, now they have. Like, it's so weird that, like, suddenly Volume 6 rolls around and like, oh wait, we can do this thing diegetically.
Yeah. Volume 6, Episode 1 was very good.
Yeah.
I thought I already put that as an asterisk above this whole video.
Yeah, I know.
But another problem with the Genesis story is that Ozpin and Salem aren't special. They're just what's left. Like, they seem to be, like, just common mages of the time.
I mean, the gods said that everybody had magic and could do crazy shit like that back in the day.
But people fire arrows still. Like, there's no explanation why magic isn't everything. Why do they have swords that they can blow people up with their minds?
I don't know. Even if you have magic, you still like technology.
Yeah.
Wooden sticks, baby.
Yeah.
Maybe they can, like, there was, like, a time when people figured out, like, how to block magic. Like, oh, you threw a magic ball at me. I can go wah, and then the magic ball goes away. Ah, shit. What if I throw a sharp stick at you? Oh, I need to figure out how to block that. So then they just kind of got, like, multiple. Like, maybe it's, like, really easy to defend against a magical attack, and it's like a different skill set to defend against a sharp stick.
Right.
I mean, there's stuff. There are ways you can rationalize a lot of stuff, but there's not a lot of ways you can. There are not a lot of things you can give the benefit of the doubt. When did semblance show up in the world? Like, when did that happen? Because, like, I think it's safe to assume that the humans who were alive after the gods left didn't have semblances, because they were all, like, amazed at Ozpin and Salem being able to float.
Right. And also, a lot of the semblances are better than the magic, like, in practical standpoint. Like, Raven's power is just so practical.
She could teleport.
Yeah, she can teleport. Like, that's something that Salem can't do. Ozpin can't do that nonsense.
Yeah.
He can shapeshift them into birds. Like, that's in his bag of magic, but teleportation isn't.
I just got reminded of something you guys probably haven't seen. It's this My Little Pony fan animation called Alicorn Days. They're talking about the benefits of when Twilight became an alicorn. It's like, you already had magic. What's so special about wings? Like, well, you can get around super fast. She's like, I guess, and then just teleports, and then teleports back. She's like, sorry, I thought I left the stove on.
Exactly, though. Like...
Yeah, it's like, you know, there are certain, like, with semblance, it's like, it's all random. They basically led with that. These are unique powers. No two are alike, except for the ones that are alike, and except for the ones that are exactly the same.
Yeah.
But then, you know, they introduce magic, and it's like, well, what the fuck is magic? And they're like, it's just not the thing. It's just not the thing that could literally be anything.
But it's more boring. That was my biggest gripe with how magic was presented. Like, it's just like emission powers and transformation.
Yeah, I know, it's like, they say it's like, oh no, see, the maidens can use magic. So the way they choose to, see, okay, one thing I would like. Because the fact that the maidens can use magic, but all they do is throw fire and ice at each other, it's like, that's really, really, like, dumb. Nobody has a semblance that can throw fire and ice balls. You don't have
Togiami.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a
Yeah,
bird boy.
I was going between those two names too. I'm like,
I got two fixed on Crow. That was my problem.
Yeah. Yeah, so you don't have somebody, you couldn't get somebody with a semblance like that. See, I would like for somebody to be like, for like somebody to have like, a maiden power. And for like, be like, oh, for like Jin to answer a question, like, oh, could a maiden kill Salem? And she would just be like, well, the maidens you have now, they're not creative enough. Like, they have magic. But they're just throwing ice balls at each other like idiots.
Yeah.
How like the maiden power is more like a limitation of imagination than anything else.
Right.
Yeah, I would totally love that to be the case because Raven and Cinder, the two maidens we know of, are like the least creative. They're the least interesting characters in the entirety of the show, and they're also seemingly the least creative with their plans.
I have infinite power at my disposal. Big sword contest.
I'm gonna hover and swing a stick at you. Oh.
You're literally exposing your weakness in the most elongated and stretched out form, offering me the most surface area and the thinnest surface area through which to cut it off, and I'm not going to take advantage of that.
Yeah, it would be poor sportsmanship.
Well, yeah.
My bridge is canon, It's like they're not even making. It's just bad sportsmanship.
Well,
there's no other explanation for it.
Well, with the maiden powers, there's no limit or ceiling. Like, why doesn't one just snap their fingers and ignite the atmosphere and win all the time? And that's the problem with maiden powers. There's no definition of what's too crazy.
Have a limit on how powerful they are. We don't see that, and they don't. Has any of them tried to slow down time?
Like Weiss does on a regular basis?
One basis.
Well, no, she speeds up time. There's a difference.
Well, she slows down their relative.
Weiss hastes people. She casts haste, basically.
She only had one level 4 lock sphere, and she's decided to spend it on haste.
So, but basically the idea of just casting haste on yourself.
Casting slow on the enemy is like casting haste on the entire party.
I counter that because it's bullshit in Pathfinder. It's a mind-affecting effect, and so many things are immune to that. Why is slow mind-affecting? It's transmutation, damn it! It should be. Sorry, minor, gripe with Pathfinder.
Yeah, I make a Final Fantasy X, and you go on Pathfinder. This is the best podcast ever.
That said,
I'm gonna put that in the description. Fatman approved.
The title is like RWBY. The description is Final Fantasy X versus Pathfinder.
That is oddly apt. The more I think about it, Pathfinder has a deep, intricate lore, and so sort of does Final Fantasy X. But if you were to smush them both together, neither would make sense.
They do make sense in my opinion, but sure.
My time traveling father is going to kill the world. What? Let's play Blitzball for 14 hours.
Oh Lord.
Okay, something we really haven't tackled on is the gods, and my comparison I have in my list is
the gods are stupid.
Are either of you two familiar with Brandon Sanderson?
You have his Mistborn series listed here.
Yeah.
I tried to read his Mistborn series. I could not get through the first chapter.
That's fine. It's basically Pride and Prejudice plus Mission Impossible plus magic powers.
My friends say it's awesome. My friends
it's
read it.
It's
good.
It's
fantastic.
But the point I'm bringing in that series is in the end game, the two gods of that world, because Sanderson has a joined world with all of his fantasy worlds, but the two gods of that world are preservation and ruin. Preservation wants to keep everything balanced and as it is, but because of that can't make anything. It has to be, even if it's nothing, the same. Ruin, on the other hand, wants decay and destruction and everything to fall apart, but if there's nothing around, then he can't destroy anything. So the two of them have an agreement. Ruin will create existence, and preservation will make sure that everything stays constant enough time with the agreement that eventually Ruin will be allowed to destroy everything. But then there's the betrayal of preservation locking Ruin away, and then the series' third act is when Ruin gets out. But that's kind of how the gods act in Remnants. Like, the god of darkness just wants change and whatever he wants, and the god of light says, no, that's no fun. Except when he wants to destroy all of existence. Like plus one dead guy is more ire-worthy to the god of light than minus everyone. Like the god of light turns his head when his brother's about to destroy the world. It's like, not watching this, not watching this.
I don't know. Well, because like the entire world revolted against them, and it's just sort of like it's not the natural order for you guys to attack your gods.
But they didn't. Like, there are people that are just in towns that get wiped out. That's not. It may be a majority, but it's not the entirety.
Well, I think Salem kind of proved that humanity was easily manipulated, easily swayed, easily turned against the gods, and I think that was why they.
Also, if you know anything about ancient deities, Old Testament God, you touch his crate in the wrong way, you're fucked.
Oh, sometimes
turned into a swan and fuck you.
Well, sometimes Old Testament God just fucked you for a bet, like Book of Job.
Yeah, okay, there was that, but I mean, like, literally, if you touch the Ark of the Covenant in the wrong way at the wrong time, like, basically, if you touched it in a certain way at the right time, you're fine. But any other time, literally, God just says, fuck you, zaps you with lightning, and you die on the spot.
Right. But you understand my point. Like, the God of Light isn't proactive in trying to stop any of this or do his own will. He just wants balance, but not when the table gets flipped.
I love you unconditionally, unless you cross me. Wait, that's a condition. No, it is not, because I am God.
Yeah, the 13th commandment.
I have a 13th commandment. I do what I want.
These are God's 15, 10 commandments. Gotta love Mel Brooks.
All of Mel Brooks stuff is classic. Like, you can watch
the
any
gods
of it.
themselves.
We have to protect our phony baloney jobs, gentlemen.
Everyone was talking about how the gods are going to be the final bosses of the series, and I don't see that. I don't see that happening. Really.
I hope not. I don't.
I think it's pretty stupid because the gods have already proven themselves. They literally have God mode on. They can't lose.
Yeah. How do we kill Salem? We have to kill the gods first. Wouldn't that? Never mind.
Yeah, they're the admins of the game. They'll delete your profile.
My dad works in Nintendo.
Ooh. But yeah, like, God of Light doesn't act for himself. He just says no to his brother, except when it matters. And if it was a God of Light, God of Darkness, shouldn't they be balancing each other out with their own proactive choices? Like, shouldn't God of Light be, okay, you destroyed all of humanity. I'm bringing them back now, instantly.
I mean, well, because they're still brothers, right? You know, at some point, family's got to be like family.
Yeah, but God of Darkness was about to throw gloves when he thought that, God of Light was stepping on his turf.
Well, you throw gloves at family.
Well, okay, here's the thing.
Not to keep bringing this back to, like, kids shows you guys haven't seen, but this is Celestia and Luna.
Maybe it's more like maybe it's less that the it's that the God of Life brings things back to life. Like, it's his job. If he's going to bring anything back, it's going to be him, and he decides that. That's his turf.
Well, it's not the God of Life. It's the God of Light and Dark.
But the God of Light is the one that creates. It's the God of Dark that destroys. And they said that, and it wasn't a World of Remnant, damn it.
If you go back to the thing, you know, the God of Darkness created fire, and he created famine.
Yeah,
they both created. They just created for different means.
Yeah, Darkness even has that.
That's not fucking canon because who gives a shit.
Darkness even has that line in episode 3. It's like, you may bask in creation, but it's not your domain entirely, or something like that.
I don't remember that one.
But I think logically it would have been the Ozma back and forth fight between all of humanity if it was, actual, one-to-one people.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like the best part for me is like it should be instead that humanity was wiped multiple times. Like that should have been the thing. Like that would have been fucking hilarious to see. It's like, and for petty bullshit too. Like even more petty bullshit than we still will Salem. So we really got to feel for the gods being petty bastards. Like, God of Destruction subs his toe one day. Fuck it, destroy humanity.
Destroy all corners of coffee tables! And they all tip over. What?
My coffee!
Yeah, control delete. Crap. Control Z.
But it was here that he remembered. This was reality, and there was no Control Z. I can't do a Morgan Freeman voice.
I don't know, that one was alright.
Yeah.
I understood what you were going for. Sometimes I hear people say they're doing Morgan Freeman accents. I'm like, no.
Okay, I think I have one last one on my itinerary because I really don't want to talk about Grimm. They're boring. With Ozpin in possession, it's possession. It's not reincarnation. That's not what he's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my other story that has this, I think, better is, are any of you familiar with D. Greyman?
No.
A little. I've heard the name before.
Okay, well, D. Greyman has the antagonist called the Clan of Noah. Basically, they're the descendants of Noah from Noah's Ark. And they won last time in the Holy War. So every single human that has ever lived is their previous incarnation's descendants. And so every time one of them dies, they get to randomly go into any person alive because they're all descendant from the same people. But at the same time, when they're being turned into a Noah, they don't lose who they are. The only thing is they gain like the animosity and like the drive of their hate for the church, basically the light side of the plot. But they still keep their original names. They're still, hi, I'm John Joe, but now I'm John Joe Noah. And the only thing that changes is they get the powers and they get like the driving visceral hatred towards their enemy. And I think that would have been a better way of giving Ozma's will onto anyone who starts with the name O. Like, because the possession thing is he's just jumping one to one. Like, it doesn't even seem like the other ones get to tag along or influence how Ozma carries over. Like,
well, I mean, I think it's all just a lie. I think that it's always Ozma. It's never like the next guy. I think he just eventually takes over. And he realized people didn't like that. Probably with the advent of the wizard who gave away most of his powers.
Yeah, and I like that theory that you have, but at the same time, second generation doesn't have
I'm gonna
any...
keep saying it until it's true, goddammit. Even when they say that that's not what happened, I'm gonna be like, no.
And I guess second generation Oz kind of fits that. There's no original host in there. Like, he doesn't have, like, drive or memory of who he originally was. Like, Oscar even says that. Who are you? He doesn't know.
Well, I don't think the writers know who Oscar is.
Yeah.
Like seriously, what is Oscar's character?
John 2.0?
Yeah. About there.
I mean, he's the new fish out of water, just with all the stuff that they've already tried to cover but did poorly.
Make him more interesting. Make him make farm anecdotes. He's a farmer, for Christ's sake. He has more life experience than nothing.
Have him say y'all.
Like I always thought that Oscar should have been like older and maybe really angsty. Like don't make him so like passive and having his life uprooted. Like make him really angry. Make him like, okay, no backseat driving. I'm on your quest, but we're doing it my way. No more half measures, and he kills all. I don't know, but
I don't know. I mean,
what I would love is that Oscar ends up being more hardcore than Ozpin, and we're talking to the point where Oscar is actually more of a villain than Ozpin.
I mean, again, that would be good storytelling if it's just the mission and not the person.
For the first time ever, Oscar becomes the dominant personality who reincarnates.
Well, like the idea is that Oscar's like, all right, Ozpin, you've just been floundering around, not doing all these fucking things. We're making a plan. So he just he captures all 4 maidens and chains them up.
Oh.
Like he just locks them up permanently in a vault, very deep underground, sealed behind 4 different security measures, 15 different security measures, and just gives them just enough to keep them alive, but they're trapped down there in an everlasting existential hell.
Oh,
and everyone else is like, holy shit, Ozpin, and Ozpin's like, this ain't me.
Well, that's the thing with the maidens being the keys to the vaults. He's lost all his keys. He doesn't keep them in areas where he can easily get to them. They run away constantly or die to random invaders. If they're the locks to what are the apocalypse keys, it's 2 sets of keys, and that's awful, but it doesn't make sense that they're not in towers of their own and have their own private armies guarding them.
Then people know where they are.
And?
I mean, what's the phrase? If you want to hide a leaf, there's no better place than the forest.
Yeah, but you can make the entire forest work for you, too.
Yeah, but then the forest point out who the leaf is.
Then kill that leaf and give it to another person.
I mean, one of the best ways to defend yourself is to put a guard outside a different door.
Yeah, and I get that, and I've actually gone softer on Volume 3, and that kind of seems to be what Cinder's plan was, start a fire and see which way Ozpin runs to the vault. But again, it doesn't make so much sense.
Oh God, was that really the plan of Cinder?
I think so.
Oh God, how did he know? How did she?
That's her only objective, is to get the maiden or get into the vaults. But so
yeah, when you look at it.
So wait, she just physically didn't know where on campus the maiden was. So she orchestrated that entire plan on the off chance that Ozpin would go there and she could follow him. Oh
Probably.
my God, I hate Volume 3 so much more now.
What do you think her plan was?
Make people scared and then destroy the school.
But they needed the relic and the maiden.
No, Cinder's entire goal was to get the fucking maiden. The way I ruled it is that she needed everyone busy and distracted with something else to basically give her not only time to figure out where the maiden is, but also slip in undetected and slip out.
But if she knew where
quite as planned.
But if she knew where it was originally, then she could just go Mission Impossible like she did in Volume 2 and go and find it.
Well, I mean, using stealth isn't really her strong suit, right?
Well, only if she wants her legs to work properly.
Those rooftops are awful.
They just kind of float, just 4 feet above the roof. It'll be fine. Nobody has the 2 semblances.
That or really, Ruby does have the best eyesight in all of Remnant.
I mean, you heard her in Volume 5. She's like, look, those weapons! And there are, no weapons visible.
She's seeing across time and space. She's seeing where the weapons will be.
Yeah. Look at all those weapons. That's the silver-eyed power. So, yeah, Raymond pointed this out, or maybe it was Tom, but that all of Ozpin's kids have silver eyes.
Yeah, someone else pointed that out in a different image, so we don't know what that means.
Which is
I don't know, the origin of magic in RWBY is all over the place. It's just 2 random people from the last set of humans. It's not that much special, it's just they get more. One can't die and the other one's given, redo powers from the God of Light.
One can't die, the other's an asshole.
Which one's which?
Precisely.
I mean, I always wanted it to be like a weird, political battle where Salem is, immortal, right? And she keeps saying, this is the way, but it's always Salem. And Ozpin reincarnates and possesses other people, and he keeps saying, this is the way, but it's always a different charismatic leader saying that. So people have over time been like, I keep hearing this thing from these people I like, and I keep hearing this thing from this scary old lady who never seems to age at all.
Followed away.
Yes.
Do you know the way?
Yeah, exactly. You got all the Ugandan knuckles saying this is the way. But
And
then
you
have
one
Salem,
queen.
who is the Tide Pod meme. and it's like, yeah, okay, but all of the Ugandan knuckles are telling me to go away. But then it's always the Tide Pods that are going the other way. See, we tied this back into January memes.
but again, it's the reason why Four Kingdoms doesn't make sense. They've been around too long for it not to be more developed.
There's my counter argument.
Okay, I can see. That was very well spoken.
Oh Lord, I think we're running out of steam here.
Yeah.
Or maybe we're just running out of steam on this point because there's not a lot we could say about it.
Anyone want to bring back in?
What's your next point? Relics?
Grim, if you want to.
Can I leave my friends behind?
Necromance, if you want to. You can bring your friends to life. I forgot the rest of that.
Yeah. But the Grim, there's too many problems to really address all of them. Like,
I mean, not only are there a lot of problems, but it's unclear as to like what even they are. I really like the idea of monsters that hate sadness. Because it's like you have to be happy. You have to be happy in spite of monsters that eat sadness. And so it would change the culture like irrevocably from day one.
Yeah, the happiness police.
You can't be angsty. Well, I mean, hardly like there would be that time. There'd be that time period of happiness police. But then eventually it would just be like, it'd be like celebration time every day. It's like every day there's like a celebration.
Yeah.
And, everybody's happy and everybody's cool.
Yeah. The setting should be we happy few and everyone's on drugs.
Or pills. Like in Equalizer.
Well, the way I would solve the situation would be far more cost effective over time. You just have a train, okay? Circles the globe, all right? And you have it constantly blaring Linkin Park.
I thought you were going a Snowpiercer route. Constantly
chase this train, and you just have no one go near the train.
Crawling in my skin.
It's sad.
It's more like crawling in my skin.
And you load it with just those martyrs who have to listen to it for all of eternity, generating the sad emotion.
Everything you say to me takes it one step closer to the edge. I know that's about to break.
I am suffering for humanity.
Yeah, just one really angsty guy on there. One day disaster strikes, and he's like, this isn't actually that bad. And everything falls apart.
Oh, I like this song. Somebody accidentally slips the Fort Minor song in there, and it's like, oh, I like this.
Yeah. But I guess...
Remember the name.
But I guess...
See, I actually thought about that for probably far too much time. That I used to think Salem was like a girl who Ozpin found one of his reincarnations later, who just had the immortality semblance. And he was like, oh, this'll be great. We'll tie her up, put her at the top of a mountain, and torture her for the rest of time. Grim will constantly be attracted to her. They'll never go anywhere else. And we just have this one girl who's like our martyr. We tied her up, and then put her in like a fucking torture thing. Everything's great, except for her, but fuck her. She's tied up. She'll never get out.
The
one day she gets out. It's like, oh.
Yeah, the logical conclusion of the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that's what I always thought. She just happened to have the immortality semblance, and then Ozpin, who's been trying to solve the Grim problem for millennia, just goes, oh, there's our solution. Let's just torture her for the rest of time. And then she got out one day, and he was like, uh-oh.
Better move along.
And then after she's taken revenge on the generations of humanity that benefited from her, he's like, look, it's me. I'm Ozpin. I'm Spartacus. Into hosts, and I'm the one who did this to you, so please take it out on me. And then she's like, wait a second, you're still around? I'm gonna devote my life to fucking you over. and then I was like, I wanted it to be like that instead of like, oh no, she's actually a good girl. She just got magicked into evilness by forces beyond anyone's understanding.
And that's another thing. She was magicked into more evil. Like, she was just selfish before then, and then she became magically induced evil.
Yeah. Who has agency in this plot? No one! Everyone's reacting to someone who's not acting of her own accord. RWBY!
RWBY, the choices don't matter.
Where the choices are made up and the Grimm don't matter.
The Telltale model.
Yes. Oh, what? Do you want Kenny to be mad at you, or do you want Kenny to like you while he does the exact same things no matter what?
Yeah. But another thing with the Grimm, I'm thinking of Made in Abyss. Made in Abyss has much more diegetic fear of monsters. Because monsters will kill you, even if you're not near a monster hole. Like, everything in the Abyss wants to kill you at all.
Everything wants to kill. Fatman's not seen Made in Abyss yet, right?
Oh, you poor soul.
Like the first episode or something like that?
No, I haven't seen any of it.
It's fantastic.
I know it's Tom that's seen bits of it. It is by far. You would love it. It's astoundingly good.
Cool.
Maybe the next reaction series we'll finally get down and actually watch that. But it's the threat of the Grimm versus like all those types of varied and interesting animals.
Like everything in the Abyss is made to kill someone somewhere.
And my personal favorite is the bird monster that when it kills you, it has an evolutionary thing where it when it's eating you, it actually latches onto your vocal cords with some like little tendrils from its mouth and forces the body to scream for help. So it lures more prey in.
Yeah, it turns its meal into like a bait call.
They did that in the Predators movie.
Right.
So that Trejo's character.
But yeah, but sort of like that, but like giant fucking bird.
Everything's better with a giant fucking bird.
I would agree, as I am a giant fucking bird.
But my favorite though is the Curse of the Abyss. But I guess my second part is the monster that if you get pricked once by its porcupine spikes, it inflates.
It's like incredibly deadly. Don't spoil anything about that. That's a fantastic.
It's amazing. I love it so much, and I'm going to hell for loving it so much.
But the Grimm, like, they're just walking contradictions, and they are by the aesthetic I have in fixing RWBY, especially with how little they play in the story. like that's the thing that galls me the most is like they are very underutilized.
Yeah, the primary threat of every single person in the world, they're one-shotted. Every single one of them, except if they're big.
I mean, even then, it's like... One thing I liked about Volume 6, Episode 1, again, bringing up the whole Volume 6, Episode 1 was pretty damn good, was that Crow saying, you gotta turn off the guns. And then the guy's like, but they're keeping us alive. And he's like, yeah, us, but they're still hurting the passengers. And it's just like, yeah, see, this is like actually cool shit. It's like, your job is to protect the civilians. You're like, huntsmen are like expendable. You know, Bro gets like eaten in the first 2 seconds of the fight, and then other Bro is just like, oh fuck, I guess I gotta keep doing my job. You know how it goes.
Yeah, the aggro argument for the turrets though, it's kind of hit and miss. Like it makes sense when they're.
I 100% disagree with the you know aggro argument for the turrets, but you know it's the same notion. It's as a piece of bullshit to get the story point across. They could have done worse bullshit, you know.
I mean, it makes sense when they're running away and they're using Ren as camouflage because they don't want to attract any more Grimm. But like,
but in the middle of the fight when Crow's like turn them off,
turn them off. They're too effective.
Yeah.
Stop! If you keep using them, we won't have a plot.
We won't have a plot. Please.
By the way, Fatman, you got my audio for yesterday's reaction, right? Did you make sure it was clean, or not clean, but
Oh.
I mean, I'm just making sure that it has sound because sometimes we've had that problem where it just doesn't render the actual sound.
Hold up.
I'm checking it now.
So is the Civil War over? Have you guys buried the hatchet?
I
Okay,
think
we're good.
I think the Civil War changed sides.
Not really. It's just sort of like the next episode didn't really change much. It was just sort of a their episode.
Okay.
And it's not. We play it up as a Civil War, but really we're just. It's
Well,
not. It's
I think everybody who watches understands. I mean, didn't you put it in the description? It's like this minor disagreements over the.
Yeah. But you know, some people take it a little too seriously. That happens.
Right. Well, we're pressing on almost 2 hours now. So, any final thoughts?
Why is Tom's audio?
Not my problem. Final thoughts. RWBY is a series with infinite potential, and absolutely none of it is really capitalized upon. Volume 6 might be changing that. We'll see.
Right.
Yeah, I got your audio. You can take it out again.
Okay, just making sure.
Batman, any final thoughts to my 3 viewers or 3 subscribers?
What was the thing I'm supposed to be having final thoughts about?
Final thoughts on the story of RWBY. Final thoughts on what we talked about.
The story of RWBY is. Okay. Here. Spoilers for my Volume 6 review, and it comes out in 18 years. It's not about the characters anymore. The characters don't matter. Like, the characters didn't matter in the beginning. The characters don't matter now. But the characters definitely don't matter now, because they need to fight this godly power. Nothing they want is of consequence anymore. Like, you know, like in Mass Effect, how you can have a good shepherd or bad shepherd. You can have that dichotomy of player choice and whatnot, because the story is so universal that the good shepherd and the bad shepherd would both act the same way.
Right.
So what RWBY wants, what Blake wants, what Yang wants, it's like, okay, is Yang gonna fuck Blake? I don't think that matters. Like, they don't care. It's like the entire fate of the world is at stake. Anything else is just a mere distraction. There's nothing to stay engaged about.
You see, that was I think the greatest failing of RWBY, and I've said this before, where the first 3 volumes effectively were supposed to be the moment where we get emotionally attached to these characters,
and they blew that.
They blew that, and like that was the entire purpose of it, was just to get emotionally invested in that, and then at the very end you start feeding in hints that there's something much larger going on that we're not aware of that they need to go fix, and that's where Volume 4 finally transitions from character focus to overall focus, to big picture focus.
I mean, I've personally never liked the fate of the world. I've never been able to bring myself to care about it. I wrote a story once that had a fate of the world that had a fate of the world as a complete and utter joke. Being that it was the main character's like personal quest for revenge, and then there was another faction that was trying to essentially accomplish the same goal, except for the fate of the world.
So just like by coincidence, the hero ended up saving the world, but
it's like Goblin Slayer. They want to stop the problem, but Goblin Slayer just wants to kill goblins.
Yeah, almost. It was one character, and they were trying to do the same thing. They're trying to do the same thing, right? They're trying to kill the same person, but the main guy was like, no, fuck you, he's mine. I'm gonna kill him. And they were like, but we have to do it. Like, it has to be done, so we have to work together. But he's trying to like undermine them the whole time so that he gets the killing blow, essentially. And so it's like the fate of the world is there as an obstacle to the main character achieving their personal goals.
That would be really good.
Yeah, I want to find that old fucking TXT document and clean it up and make it presentable. because I really liked writing that story. I had a lot of fun with it. But yeah, I wanted to make that. I wanted to take the whole Fate of the World thing and just be like, this is dumb. Nobody likes it. You guys are the boring ones trying to be boring. I'm trying to live my life, and you're trying to stop me. But we're trying to do the same thing. Not from my point of view, you're not.
Well, gentlemen, it was a pleasure. Thank you for indulging this. And
Of course.
this is Emerald Rose. Do you want to give your outros?
Oh, yeah.
Go to
Fatman,
patreon.com/fatmanfalling.
Yeah.
Donate
Patreon.
all of your money. Every last cent of it.
Patreon.com/Celtic Phoenix. Also, Celtic Phoenix Productions on YouTube. Thank you all so much for watching. Please
Go watch my
support
Volume
our
5
good friend
review. Unless
Evan
this is
here.
going up like the day we're recording this, then it should just be out by now.
Catch you all on the flip side.
Thank you all. Have a good day.